Okay, so get this.
Uh-huh.
Imagine you're a cat owner in Oregon,
Right.
and your cat, like, suddenly gets sick. I mean, really sick.
Oh.
You rush them to the vet thinking, like, worst case scenario, and
Yeah.
then you find out it's bird flu.
Oh, wow.
But here's the thing. Your cat never goes outside.
Mm.
So, like, no contact with birds at all.
So how?
That's what we're diving into today, the whole H5N1 bird flu thing.
Yeah, it's
What it means for you and your pets.
definitely ought to unpack.
We've got a report from the Oregon Veterinary Medical Association.
Okay.
Plus, this Reddit thread everyone's freaking out about a pet food recall.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's all tied to H5N1, and honestly,
It's concerning.
I'm looking at my own cat's food bowl a little differently now.
I can imagine.
It's definitely a wake-up call for a lot of pet owners.
Absolutely. This isn't just about keeping your cat away from ducks in the park anymore.
Right.
We're seeing HPAI, highly pathogenic avian influenza,
Yeah.
specifically the H5N1 strain. It's showing up in some unexpected places.
Okay, before we get into the details,
Sure.
can you give us a quick rundown of what exactly HPAI is and, like, why is it highly pathogenic?
Yeah, of course. So the highly pathogenic part,
Right.
it really refers to how severe the disease is in birds,
Okay.
not necessarily humans.
Got it.
At least not yet, anyway.
Okay.
But H5N1
Hmm.
is highly contagious among poultry.
Mm-hmm.
It often leads to, widespread death in flocks.
That's scary.
Usually it spreads from wild birds,
That's like,
migrating waterfowl, things like that.
Okay.
To domestic birds, human infections are still pretty rare.
that's good at least.
Yeah.
But they do happen.
They do, and we're going to talk about a recent case in Oregon in a bit.
Okay, so this is mainly a bird problem for now.
Right.
But that Reddit thread I mentioned,
Yeah.
everyone's buzzing about this pet food recall.
Mm-hmm.
What's the connection there?
Well, this is where things get really concerning.
Okay.
Just this week, a house cat in Washington County, Oregon,
Oh, wow.
died from H5N1.
From bird flu.
Yeah, after eating contaminated raw pet food.
Oh, way.
We're talking about Northwest Naturals 2-pound turkey recipe.
Okay.
Marash Meats is recalling specific batches,
Uh,
and it was sold nationwide.
really?
So, yeah, it might be worth checking your freezer.
Wow, this is a real how did this get in my cat's food moment.
Yeah.
I knew raw pet food had some risks, but bird flu wasn't exactly top of mind.
Yeah, this case really changes things.
Oh, so.
It shows that the virus can spread through the food chain.
Not just from, like, being near birds.
Exactly, not just direct contact.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah, and it raises questions about how widespread this contamination could be.
Oh, God.
Authorities are monitoring the cat's human family members.
For symptoms.
Right. But thankfully, so far, they're okay.
Okay.
No signs of illness, but still,
Yeah.
this situation really highlights how H5N1 could, get into our homes
Right.
and impact our pets in ways we hadn't really thought about.
It's definitely unsettling.
Yeah.
So zooming out a bit, Oregon has been dealing with HPAI outbreaks in poultry since 2022, right?
Right. They've seen outbreaks in both commercial and backyard flocks.
And what's it like there now?
Well, 2024 has brought some new developments, some worrisome ones.
Like what?
Well, in October, HPAI was found in a pig.
A pig.
Yeah, that lived with infected birds.
Wow. So it jumps species.
Right. It's what we call a potential species jump.
And that's bad.
It's definitely a red flag. The more this virus jumps between species,
Right.
the more chances it has to mutate, become a
Because
bigger threat to humans.
so it's like the virus is playing leapfrog,
Yeah,
and we don't know where it'll land next.
exactly.
And you mentioned a human case in Oregon, too.
Yes, just last month, Oregon confirmed its first human case of H5N1
Where?
in Clackamas County. Thankfully, this case was linked to a poultry operation,
Okay.
and the person only had mild illness.
That is good to hear.
Yeah.
But it does make you wonder
Would.
if it's in poultry and pigs,
Uh-huh.
and now potentially spreading through pet food. Right.
Could it reach other parts of our food supply?
Hmm.
I mean, are we talking about a potential pandemic here?
Well, that's a valid concern. And it's not just an Oregon problem or a cat problem.
Right.
H5N1 outbreaks are happening globally.
Oh, wow.
Scientists are closely watching for any mutations
That could be.
make the virus more transmissible between humans.
And that's what people in that Reddit thread are worried about, right?
Exactly.
The possibility of it mutating and spreading more easily between people.
Mm-hmm. And there is research from the NIH
Oh, really?
suggesting that just a single mutation could make H5N1 way more contagious among humans.
Oh, geez.
It really shows how unpredictable and potentially dangerous this virus is.
Yeah.
It's constantly evolving.
Right.
And it's important to understand that what we know today could be different tomorrow.
So we got to stay informed.
Exactly. Staying informed is key.
Okay, that's a lot to take in, but before we get too overwhelmed,
Sure.
let's talk about what we can actually do to protect ourselves and our pets. Right, good idea. Yeah, so with this contaminated pet food case, it's clear we need to be super careful about what we're feeding our pets.
Especially cats, right?
Especially cats. Yeah, they seem to be extra vulnerable to this H5N1 strain.
So it's more than just keeping them away from, like, birds outside.
Right, exactly.
What are experts saying we should do to keep our pets safe?
Well, they're strongly recommending avoiding raw or undercooked meat, especially for cats.
Makes sense. So no more, like, tiger blood diet for Fluffy.
Right.
What about for us humans? Any dietary precautions there?
The same principles apply, really.
Okay.
Cook all meat and poultry thoroughly.
Right.
And stick to pasteurized dairy.
Got it. But beyond what we're eating, what about hygiene?
Oh, hygiene is crucial. Absolutely crucial.
In what way?
Wash your hands really well after handling any raw animal products.
Okay.
And obviously avoid contact with sick or dead animals.
So basic food safety and hygiene.
Exactly.
Got it. But this Oregon cat case, it's not the only one, right?
You're right, it's not.
There have been other instances of cats getting H5N1.
Yeah, there have actually, back in July.
Okay.
The CDC published a study about cats on a dairy farm with H5N1 infected cows.
Yeah.
Several of the cats died after drinking unpasteurized milk.
Oh, wow.
And then in 2023, there were cases in South Korean cat shelters.
Really?
Linked to raw duck meat.
Jeez. So this is a real trend.
It seems to be.
What are authorities doing about it?
Well, the USDA is actually testing both feral and domestic cats for H5N1 right now.
To see how widespread it is.
Exactly.
That's concerning. It really highlights how important those precautions are.
Definitely, especially for cat owners.
But what about other pets like dogs? Are they at risk too?
Dogs can get H5N1.
Okay.
But they seem less susceptible than cats.
So far, at least.
Right, so far, but it's still wise to limit their exposure.
Just in case.
Yeah, you know, our understanding of this virus is always evolving.
Right.
What we know today might change tomorrow.
So err on the side of caution.
Always good advice.
You mentioned Oregon's first human case was linked to a poultry operation.
Right.
Has that changed how they're monitoring the food supply?
Oh, absolutely. Oregon is now one of 6 states doing milk testing programs.
Specifically for H5N1.
Yep. By January 2025, over 75% of Oregon's milk will be under surveillance.
That's good. At least they're being proactive.
Yeah, it is a good sign.
Have they found H5N1 in any of the milk yet?
Thankfully, no, not in the milk or the dairy cattle themselves.
That's a relief. But this whole situation, it makes you wonder what other common sense things we might need to rethink.
Right, like maybe those assumptions aren't so common sense anymore.
Exactly, like I'm rethinking raw pet food after all this.
Yeah, it's definitely a good time to reevaluate.
What else should we be thinking of?
Well, for example, are the safety measures on farms enough?
To prevent the spread?
Yeah, to prevent H5N1 from spreading. Are we doing enough to control the movement of poultry and other animals?
Those are important questions. And what about research? And surveillance? Do we have the resources to stay ahead of this thing?
That's a big one.
It seems like this outbreak is really highlighting how we need a more, like, connected approach to health.
You mean considering human, animal, and environmental factors altogether?
Exactly.
That's the One Health approach.
Oh, right.
It recognizes that those 3 things are interconnected.
We can't just address them separately.
Exactly. This H5N1 outbreak is a perfect example.
Yeah, it's affecting birds, pigs, cats, even humans.
Right. It's a reminder that the health of our planet is tied to our own health.
It really makes you realize that protecting ourselves means protecting the whole ecosystem.
Exactly. And that means not just reacting to outbreaks,
but preventing them.
Right. Investing in prevention, research, surveillance, all of that.
To minimize the risk of future pandemics.
Absolutely. Taking a proactive, holistic approach.
So as scary as this H5N1 situation is, it's also a chance to rethink how we do things.
And strengthen our systems.
Yeah, and our relationship with the natural world.
Definitely prioritize that One Health perspective.
So let's say I'm listening to this, and I'm starting to freak out a little.
Understandably.
What are the signs I should be looking for in my pet?
Okay, so veterinarians are saying to watch out for a few key things.
Okay.
Fever, lethargy, loss of appetite, reddened or inflamed eyes.
Okay.
Basically, if your pet is acting off.
Different.
Yeah, it's better to be safe than sorry.
And call the vet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Early detection and treatment can make a huge difference.
And what about for us? What are the symptoms of H5N1 in people?
Well, they're often very similar to the regular flu.
Okay.
Fever, cough, sore throat, muscle aches, fatigue.
So like a bad cold?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But H5N1 can sometimes cause more serious respiratory illness, like pneumonia.
Oh, wow.
So if you have those symptoms,
Yeah.
and especially if you've been around birds or potentially contaminated products,
Right.
it's important to see a doctor.
So be aware of the symptoms. Call your vet or doctor if you're worried.
Right.
And remember good hygiene. It sounds like communication is key here.
In what way?
Like talking to our vets, our doctors, and even in online communities.
Oh, right, like that Reddit thread.
Yeah, to share information and stay informed.
Exactly. Knowledge is power.
Especially now.
Especially with a situation like this that's constantly changing.
The more we know, the better prepared we are.
Exactly. To protect ourselves, our families, and our pets.
We're all in this together.
We are. And by staying informed, taking precautions, and supporting each other, we can get through this and hopefully minimize the impact.
Well said. This has been a sobering, but really informative look at this whole H5N1 threat.
Definitely a lot to think about.
We've learned about how it's affecting both animals and humans.
Right.
And how important it is to take precautions to protect ourselves and our pets.
For sure.
But it seems like this is far from over.
It does, yeah.
What are your thoughts on where things might go from here?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's tough to say for sure. The big unknown is how this virus will mutate.
Right.
And what those mutations will mean.
Yeah, like will it spread easier?
Exactly. Will it make people sicker? Who knows?
So much uncertainty.
It's like trying to predict the weather.
Oh, yeah.
We can see the storm clouds, but we don't know how bad the storm will be.
Or where it'll hit.
Right, yeah.
So we're all just kind of watching and waiting.
In a sense, yes. But that's why resources like the Oregon Veterinary Medical Association are so important.
Oh, yeah.
The CDC, too. Even online communities like that Reddit thread we talked about.
Right. They help us stay informed.
Exactly. Share information, support each other.
Speaking of that Reddit thread, people were connecting this whole H5N1 thing to the idea of One Health.
Right. One Health.
Can you explain what that is?
Sure. It's basically recognizing that human, animal, and environmental health are all connected.
We can't just think about them separately.
Exactly. This H5N1 outbreak shows that perfectly.
How so?
Well, it's impacting poultry pigs, cats, humans. It's all linked.
It's a reminder that the health of our planet is tied to our own health.
Absolutely.
It makes you realize that protecting ourselves means protecting the whole ecosystem.
Exactly. And that means not just reacting to outbreaks when they happen.
But preventing them.
Right. Investing in preventative measures, research surveillance.
To try to minimize the risk of future pandemics.
Exactly. It's about being proactive.
So as unsettling as this whole situation is, it's also a chance to change how we do things.
I agree. A chance to rethink our relationship with the natural world.
And prioritize that One Health perspective.
Definitely.
This deep dive has been really eye-opening.
It has.
It's given us a lot to think about.
For sure. Not just about H5N1, but about our whole approach to health.
Yeah, and our relationship with nature.
It's all connected.
Any final thoughts for our listeners?
Well, I think the most important thing is awareness.
Okay.
The more we understand about this virus, the risks, and what we can do to protect ourselves, the better prepared we'll be.
Knowledge is power.
Absolutely. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.
Well said. A huge thank you to you for joining us and sharing your expertise.
Of course, it was my pleasure.
And to our listener, we encourage you to stay informed, follow the guidance of experts, and share this information with others.
It's important to spread awareness.
Let's all do our part to stay ahead of this virus and protect our communities and our planet.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, stay curious and stay safe.